Hello and welcome to another episode of the Play It On Repeat podcast, the podcast where I go back to some of my favorite albums and review them through the context of my current music tastes. On this episode, we're going to talk about Paranoid by Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath is a band that I just had to get around to because they're the grandfathers of heavy metal music, the pioneers of heavy metal music. Paranoid is their second studio album. It was released in September of 1970. Paranoid is widely regarded as one of the greatest and most influential heavy metal albums of all time. It's often cited as a key influence for the development of the genre, as well as one of the genre's earliest albums. It was ranked number one on Rolling Stone's list of 100 greatest metal albums of all time in 2017. The band has just over 16 million monthly listeners on Spotify. With that being said, this is an album that I've always loved, so it's going to be pretty high for me. It's an 8.5 out of 10 before this listen. Let's get into the songs. Song 1, War Pigs, Luke's Wall. War Pigs is an anti-war protest song. Fun fact, the band originally wanted to title the album War Pigs after this song, but they were told to pick a different name by the label, as they felt Paranoid had the best chance of commercial success as far as songs on the album. War Pigs starts with a droney guitar riff and a really cool bass line below that. Ozzy comes in soon with his iconic delivery of this song's anti-war lyrics. I think of his "Oh Lord, yeah" that he does at the end of parts of the verses in this song all the time. I think about that often. This one also has some really cool drum fills from Bill Ward as well. The lyrics of this one are just so powerful. It's probably the absolute best anti-war song that you could ever think of. The instrumental interlude in the middle of the song is also one of my favorite parts from any Sabbath song, period. Iommi's riff and Butler's bass line are both great in this part. The last 2 minutes or so of the song is an instrumental piece. That's the piece of the song that led to the song having Luke's Wall in the intro or in the title, as well as War Pigs, and it was added to the back of War Pigs for the album. The song goes out on the effect of it's kind of like tape speeding up on the guitar riff until it just ends on one big note. This one was 7 minutes and 54 seconds, and it's an absolute classic from the band. It's one of their songs that has to be in the conversation for being one of their best. With that being said, for me, it's a 9.5 out of 10. Song 2, Paranoid. This is the first single from the album. Like I said, the label very much believed in this song. The song is widely regarded as one of the greatest heavy metal songs of all time. It reached number 4 on the UK singles chart and number 61 on the US Billboard Hot 100. That made it the band's first song to place on the Billboard Hot 100 in the US. The song opens with one of the most iconic guitar riffs of all time. Drums join soon after, and Ozzy begins singing just after the drums join. This is another one of those songs that was a song that I learned how to play very early on into me playing guitar, so I have a soft spot for it because of that. This one has a really cool fuzz-soaked solo also from Tony Iommi. It's one of my favorite solos from him. We return to the main riff after the solo. This one goes out on that same main riff. This is a very short one at just 2 minutes and 48 seconds, and I do wish it had been a minute or even two longer. But a song leaving you wanting more is not at all a bad thing in the artist's eyes, I would assume. So maybe that's why it is left a little short. I love this one almost as much as War Pigs, but it's not quite on the same level for me, so it's going to be a 9 out of 10 for me. Song 3, Planet Caravan. Black Sabbath's Geezer Butler, who's the bassist, and he wrote a lot of the songs as well. He composed the song's lyrics, said that the song is about floating through the universe with one's lover. The song opens with a clean guitar and some atmospheric sounding instrumentals, and Ozzy's voice is atmospheric in the way that it's delivered here as well. It's super heavily affected with the use of a Leslie speaker. This song retains those same elements throughout the entire start. At the halfway point, Iommi plays a clean solo that's very jazzy instead of the more bluesy type of solo that you would normally get from Tony Iommi. It's more jazzy in the way that it's composed, and I really enjoyed it. This is another song that the entire second half of the song is just an instrumental part. Some piano comes in during this part, just some big chords from the piano, really, is all that you get from the piano. The piano was played by the album engineer Tom Alam. The song just fades out as the instruments continue to play. This one's 4 minutes and 29 seconds, and while I did enjoy it, I'm not huge on the super effective vocals, especially when used on someone who has as unique of a voice as Ozzy Osbourne does. That being said, I don't feel the effects ruin the song in any way, but I still enjoyed it, so it's still an 8 out of 10 for me. Song 4, Iron Man. Upon hearing Tony Iommi's main guitar riff at a rehearsal for the first time, Ozzy remarked that it sounded like a big iron bloke walking about, with Iron Bloke quickly becoming the placeholder title as the band developed the song. Iommi had created the riff on the spot in a response to the bass drum beat that Bill Ward was playing at the time, and it created a mood of someone creeping up on you. While recording the song, producer Roger Bain, the studio engineer Tom Alam, had tremendous difficult capturing the power and the depth of the sound from this one, due to the limitations of the microphones available at that time. Just because this is very early on in the recording of this type of music, like we said, so it's hard to capture what the band wanted in this song. The lyrics, composed by Geezer Butler, tell the story of a self-fulfilling prophecy in which a man travels into the future and witnesses the apocalypse. In the process of returning to the present day to warn the human race, he is turned into steel by a magnetic field and is subsequently ridiculed and ignored by the people he intended to save. Feeling resentful, Iron Man retaliates by actually causing the apocalypse seen in his vision. The song opens with that bass drum I talked about in the intro, and a guitar part, and Ozzy saying, "I am Iron Man." The main riff kicks in soon, and it's once again one that's extremely iconic, and another one that any guitar player you've ever met knows how to play. This is another one that has cool drums throughout as well. This one has another great solo from Iommi at the same time as well. I'm going to be honest, I never paid this song's lyrics any attention, and now that I have, it tells a really cool story. Something that I love about music is that you can almost get a book's worth of story into a song that's only a few minutes long, and that's always been one of my favorite things about music in general. The song ends on a minute or so of instrumental and another solo from Iommi. The song ends abruptly off the back of that. This one was 5 minutes and 55 seconds, and I was trying to find a place to fit this in because I wanted to talk about it, and I figured the song where he kind of takes two solos is a good time to do it. So Tony Iommi, and a lot of his solos, there are parts that sound maybe a little sloppy, but he has a really good reason for it. When he was 17, he worked in a sheet metal factory and lost the fingertips of his middle and ring fingers of his fretting hand. He's left-handed, so it's his right hand. And he originally thought he would never be able to play guitar ever again, but he was able to get around that by using homemade thimbles that he put on the ends of his fingers. And his injury is also the reason that he downtuned his guitar, which wasn't a common thing at the time. It was just easier on his fingers for the strings to be more slack and not as tensioned. But he ended up doing something that rubbed off on so many metal players and ended up with a sound that was just heavier than anybody else at the time, because nobody else did that. Sorry for getting off track, but I wanted to include that story because it's a really cool story that he thought he would never play again, but he turned into one of the giants of metal guitar, and it's really cool. But with that being said, I'm going to give this song a 9 out of 10. Song 5, Electric Funeral. This song is about a nuclear holocaust. It opens with a really cool riff where Iommi is using a wah pedal to give it some depth. This song is put together very simply, a super simple drum beat and a simple bass line. I also do think how Ozzy delivers the lyrics in this one is really cool. He just follows the guitar riff, and those two together make it almost like hypnotizing in a way. That being said, at like the halfway point, they abandon that completely, and the song picks up steam out of nowhere, and it's almost like a completely separate song for a minute before returning back to the original formula for the last minute and a half of the song. The song ends on just under a minute of the main riff just repeating until it fades out. This one's 4 minutes and 49 seconds, and it's another really good one for the album. I wouldn't say it's on the same level as Iron Man or War Pigs, but it's still a very good song. It's an 8.5 out of 10 for me. Song 6, Hand of Doom. This song was conceived after the band had observed a growing number of U.S. soldiers arriving in England from the Vietnam War in the late 60s with severe drug addictions. The song paints an unflattering picture of hard drug use for the purpose of self-medication, something that happened a lot with these veterans. This one opens with another cool bass line from Geezer. The drums join him soon after, and so does Iommi with a really simple guitar riff. The whole band is very quiet and reserved for the first 30 seconds or so, then they rev up for a few seconds and then rev right back down. They follow this structure for the first 2 minutes of the song before going into a more up-tempo section. We get another cool kind of choppy, chuggy riff after that section. And this is another one that has a short but cool solo from Iommi as well. And just after the solo, we return to the instrumentals from the intro. We also return to the structure of the song going back and forth between the reserved and heavier bit. The song ends on the same bass riff that introed it. This one's 7 minutes and 8 seconds, and while I did enjoy it, I feel like it's my least favorite to this point. But I'd still put it on the same level as Planet Caravan. I just like it slightly less than Planet Caravan, so I'm also going to give it an 8 out of 10. Song 7, Rat Salad. According to Butler, Ward's drum solo Rat Salad resulted from the band having to play 8 3/4 hour spots a night in Europe earlier in their career. Can you imagine playing music for 8 3/4 of an hour? That is ridiculous. He said Bill used to fill out a whole 45 minutes doing a drum solo just to get rid of that 45 minutes. He revealed to Classic Albums, I had no idea where the title came from, though. While Butler may have forgotten where it came from in an interview early on in 1971, he was on record stating that it came from a joke about Ward's hair having not been combed, saying his hair was like a rat salad. The song is about a minute and a half. Wait a minute. The song is about a minute and a half of Iommi and Bill Ward playing together, and then Ward gets about a minute or so on his own, and then Iommi returns for the last 30 seconds. This one was 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and like I said when introducing it, it's an instrumental with just Tony Iommi and the drummer Bill Ward. This is a riff and drum part that I wish had been used for an actual full song from the band, as it was pretty cool. Like I could see it making a really cool song. But with that being said, it's a short instrumental, but I feel like there's enough to rate it. Like there's enough there for me to give it a score out of 10. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Song 8, Jack the Stripper, Fairies Wear Boots. The exact inspiration behind Fairies Wear Boots is unclear. In the 2010 documentary film Classic Albums, Black Sabbath's Paranoid, the band's bassist, Geezer Butler, states that Ozzy Osbourne composed the lyrics after a group of skinheads in London called him a fairy because of his long hair. However, Butler also stated Ozzy's lyrics often went off in random tangents, and the second half of the song was about LSD. The song opens with a guitar riff and lots of delay, and the drums and bass join soonly after that. Very early into the song, we get a cool lead part from Iommi. It's about a minute and a half of instrumentals before Ozzy comes in with his lyrics in this one. I like the main riff from this one a lot. It's kind of bouncy in a really fun way. Iommi has another cool solo in the middle of this one as well. We get some more verses, and the song ends on another lead part from Iommi that kind of sounds similar to a lead part from For Whom the Bell Tolls by Metallica, in all honesty. This one was 6 minutes and 12 seconds, and it's the only case on the album of a song feeling like it could have been shortened some, in my opinion. I still enjoy the song even then. It's on about the same scale as like Planet Caravan, so I'm also going to give it an 8 out of 10. So with that all being added up and averaged out, we came out to an 8.4 out of 10, just below where I gave it prior to this listen. What I love about going back to these earlier albums is hearing the music that inspired my favorite musicians and being able to find bits and pieces where the older bands rubbed off on some of my favorites. That being said, I've always thought that it was super cool, and Black Sabbath is one of those bands that inspired so many that whoever it is that's your favorite band, as long as they came after Black Sabbath, you can probably hear a little bit of Black Sabbath in that band. If they're a rock band or a metal band, they kind of spawned like 10 different genres throughout all of the songs that they had, and it's amazing for one band to be able to spawn so much inspiration and put so much inspiration into people, and I've always loved that about them. But with that being said, we're all done, and I just have to say thank you for watching. If you enjoy, please like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Share with a friend if you're on Spotify. Also, follow my TikTok if you haven't followed it. Just look up Play It on Repeat Podcast on TikTok as well. And we have a discussion about music there just about every day. And I'd love to see you there. Thanks. Bye.